Balance. This is a new TV series coming your way on GRTS TV. Educate to innovate. Learn, think, and create.
Education is beautiful, but how about education plus innovation? In this new TV series, we will feature segments like The Guest Side, Conquering, Parents' Day, and storytelling. So, watch out.
jàng nee na wante lu ko ëmb yépp mooy njëriñam programme buñ leen bëgg a amal fii si GRTS ëmb na lu bari ëmb na guest side bi moo nekk wàllum gan yi ak conquering side amal nañ leen parents day na dañ ko baaxal pour suñu waajur yi amal nañ leen storytelling bi nag mooy léeb boo xam ne ñëpp ay toog benn place nar a déglu ay kaalama yu neex comme ay kaalama Kocc Barma kaalaama kuma bu am day ak kuma bu amul day yu bari nag ñu fa loo xam ne daf la ñu yóbbu leen ci gannaaw ngeen naroon a xam lu fi xewoon fii ci àdduna.
Education and innovation should be balanced.
Assalamu alaikum, wonderful viewers. Welcome to another edition of The Balance Show, coming your way from GRTS. As always, I'm your presenter and friend, Hadi Juanga. Today in the show, we have a beautiful young lady from a very renowned youth organization in the country. She's going to be talking about what her job is at that particular organization, and we'll be talking about a particular topic that falls under the thematic areas that that organization works under. What we'll do is I'll just allow her to introduce herself, and then we'll go on with the program. Young lady.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mariatou, Newland, and I'm a program officer for Think Young Women.
Thank you, Mariatou. Welcome to the Balance Show. You said you're from an organization called Think Young Women. If you can just elaborate on what Think Young Women is, when it was founded, so the viewers would know what Think Young Women is.
Think Young Women is a young women organization that was established in 2010, formally registered in 2011 as a non-profit making organization, and also currently registered as a youth organization under the National Youth Council. Think Young Women, as I said, is a young women organization made up and also led by Think Young Women. It is an organization that it's an open organization, meaning we have members. We're open for membership for girls between the ages 15 to 35 years old. And I keep saying it's a young women organization, but then I also like to mention that it is not just a young women organization. It is an organization that also has men amongst our midst. These men we call women. So under Think Young Women, there's a unit called the Women, whereby we have male members, boys and men, who support the cause and the cause of women and girls and what we do. So to elaborate on what Think Young Women does, our vision is to see a new generation of enlightened young female leaders. We do this through assisting and inspiring young girls to confront the challenges they face in the Gambia, such as gender-based violence, HIV and AIDS, and other gender issues that young women are facing, not just in the Gambia but globally. And we work around gender equity and women's rights, which covers gender-based violence, issues such as issues of FGM, early forced marriage, and rape, sexual assault, and so on. We also work around leadership development. We do this through having leadership trainings, and we have an ongoing mentoring program. And we also work around economic empowerment of young women, entrepreneurship, and around health and safety, reproductive health, sexual reproductive health and rights, HIV, maternal health, So I would just say Think Young Women is here to tackle and address all issues that affect young women in the Gambia.
Okay, thank you, Mariatou. So I believe if I understood you well, you don't just work with and through young women, but you also have young men in your midst. And I believe maybe this is something that sets you apart from other youth organizations in the country.
Yes, this is actually, Hadi, thank you. This is something that is actually very unique about Think Young Women, because we believe that to tackle issues that affect young women in the Gambia, women alone cannot do it alone. And seeing women alone standing out, trying to tackle issues that are affecting them, maybe skeptical. So we think that to make it more effective, we need men. Actually, then they usually want every successful man needs a woman, but every successful woman also needs a man. So because of Lolo, we believe that we need men. So these men actually that as I previously stated, call themselves women, at all times helping us in all we do, supporting us in all we do. Actually, it's quite funny that when you actually see, when we're having meetings and then you see a guy amongst a midst of like 50 women, it's funny and weird, but then for us that is like the power we have. For us, that is like one of the things that make us unique and stand out. And also, again, as I said, we're a youth organization and we're open for membership for girls and boys between the ages 15 and 35. So that also, I think, makes us unique, because there are various young organizations in the Gambia, youth organizations, but then we feel that it's important, since we're actually fighting for young women, it's important to actually bring them aboard and bring them on board and make them actually fight for themselves. So as a result, we have memberships and we have members.
Okay. So like you said, for too long, the youth organizations have been working strictly with the people that are supposed to benefit from their thematic areas. For instance, you can have a youth organization and it would just be comprised of young people. Or you can have a women's rights organization and it would just be comprised of young women. But what you're saying is you're involving young men because you believe you are partners in development. And in as much as you want to solve the issues of women, you might want to bring the people who are usually the victims and those who are mostly the perpetrators as well. So you could create a safe haven, I believe. Okay, so Mariatou, just before we go on a short break, I would want to know, because we have different organizations in the country, we have hundreds of them, but why the focus on young women? Why not women generally?
Well, if you look at the Gambia, there are various organizations that are women rights organizations, and they tend to actually target older women. They tend to forget the younger generation. And I believe that it is very important to target the younger generation, because most of the gender-based violence issues that are affecting women, are actually mainly affecting young women, in the sense that let's take for example FGM. FGM is not performed on a woman that is 25 years old. It's usually performed, on a child. Before, now maybe you can do it on a baby, but sometimes before they take a girl to FGM, she's usually 14 or 15, and that person is usually a young woman. So I believe that it is important to target the young generation to actually help in eradicating a lot of gender-based violence issues in the Gambia, because they will be the future mothers and the young men would be the future fathers. So I believe that in Think Young Women, actually, we believe that the young generation, for there to be change in terms of gender issues that are affecting that are affecting women globally, we believe that it's important to engage the young women. The young women are rarely engaged, so we believe that it is high time for us to shift focus and work with the young women, as they are the future.
Having mentioned gender-based violence, what we would do is, you have actually led us into the next session of the discussion. So what we'll do is we'll go on a short music break. This is a video that was made in collaboration, I believe, with UNFPA the Gambia, and it was done by various young artists in the country, and it is basically centered around violence against women in the Gambia and Africa as a whole. So we'll just go watch that video. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion.
Genesis music. Yàlla yërëmal jigéen.
Bàyyi ko Néné Jaara.
Xam nga ne jigéen ñi suñu yaay, suñu jabar ak suñu sister.
You know it's the Genesis music.
Don't wanna see them die. Say no to violence against women. Don't wanna see them peace fighting. Say no to violence against women. Don't wanna see them die. Say no to violence against women. Don't wanna see them crying pain. Say no to violence against women. When you protect them, you save the world. Respect the rights and not to violate them at all. Aye, aye, oh, aye. Bukuma de kumbadi kis, ben jigen di joy. Darling ko take the file udis, bamuyoku walo. Yo mi di ko fekel nga gis, ko ya jabarak dom. Gela chapale ko joko cheram gumu yelo, budi ko mere badi sagam badi do. Bagana ngeen bayi xel ci li. Góor bu ne jigéen lay motali. Ñun jigéen ñoo lay jural toppatoo sa njaboot wi. Kon bul di dóor, bul di saaga, ba ngay merloo ñun jigéen. Don't wanna see them die. Say no to violence against women. Don't wanna see them peace fighting. Say no to violence against women. Don't wanna see them cry. Say no to violence against women. Don't wanna see them crying pain. Say no to violence against women. When you protect them, you save the world. Respect the rights and not to violate them at all. Aye, aye, oh, aye.
Anye mutamfango ye nkane kumbondi isapita dolu kaye londi kela ye kono mandi fonse sementu ya musolla munkane tora ngakuol dolu kela mambedi angenda hala.
Save the world and save all women. We should empower them, all decision making. Yeah. I won't let no woman go on every end. I will raise my voice for this party to end. We should assure them alone. Yeah.
Don't wanna see them die. Say no to violence against women. Don't wanna see them peace fighting. Say no to violence against women. Don't wanna see them cry. Say no to violence against women. Don't wanna see them crying pain. Say no to violence against women.
Siwo jibina mataiko sudido surugol monodu wamaja. Deppo piyatake initake ulintake konene jara. Katampere woni kogor kota wete debbo dande te yo mama. Mojombi na yo ofonda na yo koyurminte be alla dali.
xale bu jigéen la si yërmande la soxla yóbbu ma ma jàngi xam-xame sirale ma ci kër gi te du lu nekk nga ni góor gi ar ma ci dóor ak lépp lu may lore.
Jigéen yi bari ñoo fi loru ci lii nii.
Ayo ma debbo ulintake jara. Bàyyi ko Néné Jaara. Bàyyi ko Néné Jaara.
Welcome back, viewers. I believe you saw that very beautiful music video done by various artists of the Gambia. Like she said, they bring everybody on board, and you have seen even male artists on it. So this is the power young women have. This is the power the young people of the country have. And I believe if we all come together, we will be able to tackle a lot of issues affecting us in our country and Africa as a whole, and even the world. So Mariatou, would you mind just shedding a little bit of light on the video and how it came about?
Yes, Hadi. Actually, as I said, Think Young Women, we actually try to engage in unique advocacy. That video you were seeing is one of the advocacy materials that we produced. During the 16 days of activism, we realized that it is the high time for us to engage the media in ending violence against women in the Gambia. So we decided that we were going to engage young artists, female and men, so young Gambian artists, we tasked them to write a song about violence against women and come up with a video to actually, play on radio, TV, and actually even we shared this video on social media. So that we realized that it's not all about maybe distributing t-shirts or caps, but then we can also use other methods of disseminating our messages and also engage individuals that probably do not have time to watch maybe our march past, but have enough time to actually watch a 3-minute video on violence against women. So the video, as I said, was produced during the 16 days of activism in 2014. It was one of our activities under the 16 days funded by the UNFPA the Gambia, and in partnership with other organizations such as Network Against Gender-Based Violence, Female Lawyers Association. So Hadi, I think for Think Young Women personally, we believe that as young people, we should be creative enough to come up with other means of advocacy strategies to be able to put our message out there and actually target the wider population.
Okay. Like you said, again, I believe it takes us back to what still makes Think Young Women unique and different from all the other organizations, because we're in an era where people are very open to media, especially social media, and these messages having been uploaded on your various social media pages. I know of the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and a lot of them. I believe
even on our website.
Yes, you have a blog and a website too, and I believe you are reaching out to a wider audience by this, because young people are more engaged through these platforms now. So now coming down to the discussion, like I told you, viewers, we're going to be talking about a particular topic that falls under their thematic areas, and we chose gender-based violence. Gender-based violence because we live in a society where people think violence is normal. Some people cannot even differentiate between what is normal in their lives and what should not take place. So Mariatou, when we talk about gender-based violence, what do we really mean?
Well, gender-based violence is any form of violence or abuse that is perpetrated towards an individual because of their gender. It can be perpetrated towards a woman, it can be perpetrated towards a man. But then when we say gender-based violence, usually what comes in our mind is women and young children, because they're usually the victims because of their vulnerability. So gender-based violence, Hadi, there are lots of forms of gender-based violence, and sometimes there's certain violence that are perpetrated towards an individual, and then the individual would not even know that is violence, because it is usually something very common in the Gambia or in our social settings. For example, sometimes you'll be passing on the streets and then a guy will just hit you from the behind and say, "Yangi ba." Well, for us, sometimes that's just normal, or you just see the girl say, "Hey, bye ma." But then actually that is violence, that's sexual harassment, which is a form of gender-based violence. So there are various forms of gender-based violence that are happening in our country that we do not think is such a big deal, when actually it is a big deal. It is violence.
Like, I believe this would bring us to some of the scenarios that we find ourselves in our societies, where usually in all of you would have this old man that has this young child that he keeps calling Suma Jabar, Sumali, and in the process you find this person touching the child in ways that are very immoral, that are very wrong. But then we live in a society where we shy away from saying certain things because a person is an elder. We cannot face them and tell them this is wrong. So Mariatou, I'm also aware that you do not just develop advocacy materials or just organize workshops and fora just to engage people, but then you also use the policies that are in place. You also use the legal frameworks that are in place. So can you enlighten our viewers on some of the legal frameworks, some of the laws that are in place in the Gambia and even Africa as a whole with regards to tackling issues of gender-based violence and violence against women in general?
In the Gambia, there are various legislations that are put in place to tackle gender-based violence. And I'll start with the Women's Act of 2010. The Women's Act of 2010 is actually a very unique legislation because it is the first legislation that actually prohibits violence against women explicitly. It defined violence against women and went on to actually say the various forms of violence that can occur within the public and private life. Because we've realized that violence against women is not only happening in the home, but also in the workplaces and in the school. And all this has been covered in the Women's Act. And from the Women's Act, we go to the Children's Act again, because the Children's Act is an act that is in place to protect children, that is an individual under the age of 18. And there are some various provisions there also that actually cover gender-based violence. For example, under the Women's Act, there's a provision that states that protects a child from any harmful traditional practice. So any harmful traditional practice can cover early forced marriage, because if you look at it, in the long run, it may have a harmful effect on the child, because a child getting married at the age of 11, 10 cannot actually have a baby. And even if they have a baby, there may be some damages that may occur during delivery, complications. So and then also interpreting that section, it covers FGM too, because statistics and studies have shown that FGM actually is a harmful traditional practice.
Okay.
So
I believe that part is very important, because usually when you raise the issue of female genital mutilation and cutting, and certain fora, people will tell you there are no legislations in place in the Gambia. But what you're saying is it depends on the interpretation of these laws, because FGM could actually fall under harmful traditional practice.
Yes, usually, as you said, they're saying that there's no law against FGM. Well, there is a law based on the interpretation of that particular section of the Children's Act. Although it hasn't been tested in court, but then if it is tested and there is precedent and there is a decision, precedent can be set to use that section to include FGM. And also, I also would like to bring it to the attention of the public that there's a national plan of action. There's a national strategy plan of action 2013 to 2017 in the Gambia on FGM. And the sole purpose of that plan of action is to increase the public's level of awareness in terms of FGM, and also forge ways in trying to bring to accelerate the abandonment of FGM. So yes, there is a law, because to me interpreting that section includes FGM, and there's also a national action plan, which means that there's actually hope that there may be a law someday, or there might be, maybe the practice of FGM might reduce someday. And on the issue of legislation, there's also the Sexual Offences Act, which covers sexual offences such as rape. Rape is a gender-based violence. It can be a type of gender-based violence, because women are usually raped. And when we say rape, we don't mean just a young girl. Even a